Most people think Wall Street became powerful because it invented better financial systems. Solomon would disagree. Long before modern banks, stock markets, and investment firms existed, he already understood the laws that quietly govern money, business, wealth, and human behavior. The shocking part is this: many of those same financial principles are still being used today, but most ordinary people were never taught their real origin. Modern culture teaches people to chase fast money, normalize debt, spend emotionally, and measure success by appearance. But Solomon built one of the greatest kingdoms in history using an entirely different system, one based on wisdom, patience, stewardship, structure, and generational thinking. And once you see these laws clearly, you start realizing why so many people work hard for decades and still never build lasting wealth. In this video, you're going to discover the 7 financial laws Solomon understood better than Wall Street itself. These are principles hidden inside scripture, ancient wisdom, and human nature that still control financial outcomes today, whether people recognize them or not. Some of these laws may completely change the way you see money from this moment forward. If you like our content, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description, and stay until the end, because the final law is the one modern financial culture quietly avoids the most. Once you understand it, you may never look at wealth, business, and financial freedom the same way again. Why Solomon treated money as a system, not an emotion. Most people make financial decisions emotionally and then spend years trying to recover logically. Solomon understood something Wall Street still profits from today. When emotions control money, confusion becomes expensive. Fear makes people sell too early. Pride makes them spend to impress strangers. Impulse destroys more wealth than lack of income ever could. That is why wisdom, not income, was always the true foundation of biblical prosperity. Ecclesiastes 10:2 says that the heart of the wise inclines to the right, but the heart of the fool to the left. In biblical language, this was never about politics. It was about direction. Wise people move intentionally. Foolish people move emotionally. Solomon treated money like architecture, not entertainment. Every financial decision had structure, timing, and purpose attached to it. Modern financial culture trains people to consume first and think later. Flash sales, instant credit, one-click purchases, and lifestyle pressure keep millions trapped in cycles they barely understand. Wall Street doesn't just make money from investing. It also makes money from emotional instability. Every panic sell, every impulsive loan, and every unnecessary purchase feeds a system designed around reaction instead of wisdom. Proverbs 21:20 says, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." Solomon was describing 2 financial mindsets thousands of years before modern economics existed. One mindset preserves resources, the other burns everything immediately. A person making $3,000 a month with discipline often builds more long-term wealth than someone making $15,000 with no control over their habits and emotions. That is why Solomon never separated spiritual maturity from financial maturity. A person unable to govern small desires will struggle to govern large opportunities. Before wealth ever becomes visible in the bank account, it first becomes visible in habits, patience, restraint, and stewardship. And once that foundation is understood, the next law begins to reveal why Solomon never allowed all his wealth to remain exposed in one place. The law of division, the wealth protection system Solomon used. One of the greatest financial mistakes modern culture teaches is concentration without protection. People place all their hope in one paycheck, one platform, one investment, or one business stream. Solomon understood that stability is built through division. Ecclesiastes 11:2 says, "Invest in 7 ventures? Yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land." That verse alone sounds more advanced than half the financial advice circulating online today. The ancient system was surprisingly simple. Part of wealth belonged in productive business activity. Part belonged in real assets that could survive economic storms. Another part remained liquid and accessible for difficult seasons. Solomon understood that reserves were not wasted money. They were survival power. Cash reserves create patience, and patience prevents desperate decisions that destroy long-term wealth. Modern financial systems often shame people for holding liquidity. They say every dollar must always be working, but what they rarely explain is that a person with no reserves becomes emotionally controlled by every emergency. Suddenly, a broken car, a medical bill, or a job loss turns into panic. And panic is one of the most expensive emotions in the world of money and business. Joseph applied this exact principle in Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. Genesis 41 describes how grain was stored aggressively before famine ever arrived. While others consumed everything during prosperous years, Joseph built reserves quietly. When the crisis came, preparation became power. Entire nations depended on the wisdom of someone who understood that good seasons are temporary assignments, not permanent guarantees. Wealthy families rarely survive generations because of high income alone. They survive because they protect before they expand. Solomon understood that preservation is part of multiplication. A person who cannot protect resources will constantly rebuild from zero, no matter how much money they make. And once protection is understood, the next danger Solomon warned about becomes impossible to ignore: the invisible trap of debt and financial servitude. The hidden financial trap Solomon warned about. Modern culture treats debt like a normal part of adulthood, but Solomon spoke about it like a form of bondage. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The borrower is servant to the lender." That was not poetic exaggeration. It was financial reality. Every payment owed to someone else quietly reduces freedom, flexibility, peace, and future opportunity. A person may look successful on the outside while internally working only to maintain obligations. The dangerous part is that debt often arrives dressed as convenience. Easy credit, monthly installments, luxury financed over time, and buy now, pay later systems create the illusion of progress without ownership. For a moment, people feel richer than they really are. But over time, interest begins consuming future income before that income even arrives. Many households are not building wealth anymore. They are simply feeding financial systems month after month. Wall Street understands something most people never stop to calculate. Small interest rates become massive wealth transfer mechanisms when multiplied across millions of people for decades. Credit cards, car loans, personal loans, and revolving debt structures quietly redirect enormous amounts of money away from families and into institutions. Solomon understood that financial peace is difficult to maintain when tomorrow's income already belongs to yesterday's decisions. This does not mean all debt is automatically evil. Even in business, strategic leverage can sometimes create expansion opportunities. But biblical wisdom always places caution above obsession with speed. A wise person calculates carefully before carrying obligations. They avoid using debt to impress others, inflate appearances, or finance lifestyles their current stewardship cannot yet sustain. Wealth built slowly often survives longer than wealth inflated artificially. One of the most powerful financial shifts happens when a person stops asking, "What payment can I afford?" and starts asking, "What ownership can I actually sustain?" That single mindset change transforms spending, business decisions, and long-term planning completely. Because once someone escapes the pressure of constant debt, they begin discovering the next law Solomon mastered better than Wall Street: the extraordinary power of patience and slow wealth. Why Solomon believed slow wealth is stronger wealth. Most people want financial miracles, but Solomon believed in financial seasons. Proverbs 13:11 says, "Wealth gained quickly will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." That completely contradicts the modern obsession with overnight success. Social media celebrates fast money, instant business growth, and sudden luxury. But Solomon understood that what rises too quickly often collapses just as fast because the foundation underneath never had time to mature. The modern financial world is addicted to urgency. People feel pressured to become rich immediately, or they believe they are failing. That pressure creates dangerous behavior. Investors chase hype instead of value. Entrepreneurs expand too fast without structure. Families spend future income trying to look successful today. But nature itself teaches the opposite lesson. Trees that survive storms do not grow overnight. Their roots develop quietly long before anyone notices the fruit. Ecclesiastes 3 says there is a time for every purpose under heaven. Solomon applied that wisdom to money and business. There are seasons for planting, building, learning, preserving, expanding, and harvesting. Wise people stop fighting the timing process. They understand that compounding works both financially and spiritually. Small, consistent actions repeated for years often create results that emotional bursts of effort never achieve. This is exactly how many wealthy investors operate quietly behind the scenes. Warren Buffett became one of the richest men in history largely through patience and long-term compounding. Businesses like Coca-Cola, Apple, and Johnson & Johnson rewarded investors who understood time better than excitement. Solomon would have recognized this immediately because biblical wealth was never designed around speed. It was designed around endurance, stewardship, and continuity across generations. One of the greatest lies modern culture tells is that slow progress means failure. In reality, slow growth often means stability is forming underneath the surface. A business growing carefully can survive storms that destroy faster competitors. A family building gradually often creates deeper peace than one chasing appearances. And once patience begins shaping a person's financial life, they become ready to understand the final law Wall Street can never fully replicate. The law of the open hand, the final financial law Wall Street cannot replicate. Wall Street understands accumulation, but Solomon understood circulation. Modern finance teaches people to grip tightly, protect endlessly, and measure success only by how much money stays inside their hands. But biblical wisdom reveals a different law. Proverbs 11:24 says, "One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty." To the natural mind, that sounds backwards. To Solomon, it was one of the deepest financial truths in existence. The principle was never about reckless giving or emotional charity. It was about alignment. Solomon understood that resources were meant to move with purpose. Closed hands eventually stop receiving because nothing can flow through them anymore. Open hands create relationships, opportunities, trust, goodwill, and influence. In business, some of the most profitable long-term connections are built not through manipulation, but through generosity, fairness, and genuine value creation. Maimonides taught that the highest form of giving was helping someone become self-sufficient. That changes the entire meaning of wealth. True prosperity is not just consuming luxury while others collapse around you. It is building systems, opportunities, businesses, and environments where more people can stand, grow, work, and thrive. Solomon's kingdom became powerful because wisdom created stability for entire networks of people, not only for the king himself. This law also exposes one of the greatest misunderstandings about money. Wealth alone cannot satisfy a person whose identity is empty. Many people spend their lives trying to make money without ever asking why they want it in the first place. That is why some wealthy individuals remain anxious, restless, and spiritually exhausted even after achieving massive financial success. Money multiplies what already exists in the heart. It does not heal what is broken inside it. Solomon eventually discovered that wisdom was more valuable than silver, and understanding more profitable than gold. The real goal was never simply accumulation. It was stewardship, legacy, peace, and alignment with divine purpose. Because a person can gain enormous wealth and still lose direction entirely. But someone who understands these financial laws begins building something far greater than temporary riches. A life, a business, and a legacy capable of blessing generations long after they are gone. The world teaches people to chase money endlessly, but Solomon taught something far greater. Wisdom must always lead wealth. Because without wisdom, even great financial success can quietly become another form of slavery. But with wisdom, stewardship, patience, and discipline, a person can build a business, a family legacy, and a financial life strong enough to survive generations. The truth is, most people never fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because nobody ever taught them the laws quietly governing money, debt, patience, ownership, and purpose. But now you know them, and knowledge creates responsibility. The question is no longer whether these principles work. The real question is whether you are willing to apply them consistently while everyone else keeps chasing shortcuts. Take an honest look at your current financial life. Are your decisions building freedom or dependency? Are you constructing something lasting or simply maintaining appearances? Are your habits aligned with long-term wealth, or are emotions still controlling your money and business decisions every single month? The future people pray for is often hidden inside the discipline they keep postponing today. Write in the comments, "I take control of my money," and watch how this powerful declaration begins to shift the course of your business and your finances from this day forward. If this message spoke to you in any way, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description. And if you want to continue learning biblical wisdom about money, business, wealth, and financial stewardship, subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications so you never miss the next message. Now tell me in the comments, which of these financial laws challenged your mindset the most today, and what is the first change you will begin making in your financial life after hearing this?